the Women's Super League champions.
The most amazing day for the Leeds Rhinos.
Warrington dominating. Great try for the Robins. Huddersfield Giants take the points home.
He missed it.
Here's a poor lad. That is one sensational try.
3 in a row. The Saints. The three-peat is achieved. An 8th grand final win for the Red Bee.
Hello and welcome to The Last Tackle on the Sportsman, your exclusive home of Rugby League online. I'm delighted to welcome to the studio. We've got 13 grand final victories between them. It's Paul Sculthorpe and Jamie Peacock. Gents, thanks for joining us. Let's just start with some news this afternoon and some good news as well. The RFL and the Super League Europe have released this statement about realignment. It says the Rugby Football League and the Super League Europe will recommend that clubs support a significant realignment of sports governance at a special general meeting later this month. The proposed realignment has been negotiated by Super League and the RFL with the objective of reshaping Rugby League's commercial and governance model to maximise future opportunities for the sport. I think for many of us, JP, it's thank God.
Yeah, it's about time, right? It's about time, really. I think there's enough challenges in the world without us infighting amongst ourselves, and I think the best plan is when everybody commits to it. And I think if we get both parties commit to the plan of growing the sport and getting the sport as big as we possibly can, I think that'll be fantastic. I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yeah, no, it's great news. Before I ask you, Scott, I'm just going to give a bit more detail. So Ken Davey, who has been the interim chairman of the Super League, and Simon Johnson, who's the chair of the RFL, in a joint statement, have also said that obviously Rugby League has faced its challenges because of COVID. This has concentrated our minds on the opportunities ahead for Rugby League and had led to detailed negotiations over recent months with the objective of ensuring the sport re-emerges to a brighter and more sustainable future. We are convinced this recommendation, with the introduction of a new company and a clear distinction from the governance responsibilities of the RFL, is a right model for our sport.
Yeah, it's obviously fantastic. As JSP said, you know, there's enough issues and troubles in the world without us, you know, causing more. And it's great, you know, because the top of the game, Super League, you know, should be aligned with the rest of the game that feeds through. You know, from community game, it's obviously is governed by the RFL, and it's just great to see. And from a commercial point of view, you know, it needs to realign.
It's just common sense. Let's not go over ground why we decided to split. It's just common sense to come back together, isn't it?
It is common sense, but quite often in life we abandon common sense, don't we? I think it's
Especially
great.
Rugby League.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's great that everybody's seen that, and it's taken you know the last 18 months of a pandemic really to sharpen that focus, and it's great. I think it's just positive news going forward. We've got a great World Cup at the end of it. Super League's back up and running. It's great to see all the crowds back in, and I think this is again more positive news going forward, certainly strategically for the game.
And just a quick word for some people behind the scenes, like Rodri Jones. I know how hard he's been working, and Ken Davies stepped in to be the chairman of a Super League, and he's done a good job, hasn't he?
He has done a good job. You know, I think there's been a lot of positive things happen within the game in the last 6 to 12 months, and you know, Ken obviously stepped in, you know, when Robert Elston left, and done a great job.
Right, well, let's talk the games himself. There's 3 unbeaten records left in the Betfred Super League. With Wigan, let's talk Wigan, 22-12 against Huddersfield. Wigan have started well under Matty Peat.
Yeah, I think they've improved as a side. I think we spoke about it just off air that their attack's improved, hasn't it? And that's what they needed to do last year. I think Wigan have got a history over the last few years of being dogged, being able to stay in games, but you need to score points to win big games, and they've changed that round this year. Do you know what? They've actually been enjoyable to watch, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
when
they were at times last year.
No, they were dire at times last year, and I think this year.
Performance against Leeds.
Yeah. There was some poor performances last year. That was the game that got nilled, wasn't it? You know,
10-0.
some things need to change in a game, and it's good, I think, for the Wigan club that they've come out, a club who want to win silverware and who want to challenge Saints as well.
And John Bateman's settling back into the Super League really well.
Yeah, obviously it was a big year for Batty on it last year, coming back from the NRL, and you know, I found it a tough year. Probably a lot of the spotlight was on him, obviously, coming into a Wigan side that was struggling anyway. But like you say, you know, a completely different Wigan side this year under Matty Pete, and great to see him, you know, throwing that ball about. And you know, they've got a few strike players who look like they're really enjoying themselves. One of them, Jai Field, I think he's set off for, you know, this year on fire, hasn't he?
We're going to hear from Jarfield as well in an exclusive interview, so don't go anywhere. Obviously had that injury nightmare last year. Right then, JP, we've only got half an hour. We're going to talk about your old club. They were also on Thursday night. All right, it's very early days, no points. Again, they started really well against Catalan, like they started well against Wigan. But I don't know, it's just... What's going wrong? It just doesn't seem clinical enough for me.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing or aspect about the performance against Catalans was, I think in the other games you've seen quite a bit of effort, but I think in this game what was frustrating was the decision making. I thought they created maybe 5 or 6 opportunities, but took the wrong decision at every time. And when you're a fan watching that, you can actually see that. And I think that's why the crowd got frustrated at the end. And they created enough opportunities to win the game, but made the wrong decisions at the end of it. And that's something that they need to get right. It's a big game from now, the club against Wakefield. You know, as an ex-Leeds player, I know that Wakefield hang their hat on beating the Leeds Rhinos. You know, that's the big thing. They want to play in that game.
Well, we saw Wakefield never give up either.
Yeah, Wakefield,
against St Helens last week, you know.
Under Willie Poaching, I think Wakefield have been outstanding. They were outstanding last year. I think they fight for one another. And that's the thing Wakefield have got going for them, that togetherness. It is a big game for the Rhinos. If you want to challenge for silverware, you can lose your first 3 games. Don't worry about that. Yeah. But you need to turn it round at some point. And for me, it starts tomorrow night.
We all got very excited pre-season, Blake Austin and Aidan Caesar. I mean, Blake Austin got Leeds off to a great start. But, I mean, I know each other from the Canberra days. They're not firing yet, though, are they? No,
they certainly didn't fire in the Catalans game. And I think that's something those two need to work on. I think, you know, they tried hard, but again, in the halves, it's about the decisions you make. And I think they'll watch that game themselves and beat themselves up a little bit about the decisions they made and taking the wrong options. I'm sure they'll improve this week out for it. I know they've got some players back this week for this game. So I think with those players back, with the younger players and with a point to prove, I think they can beat Wakefield. But I think it'll be a nervy, edgy game again, because a team out of confidence away from home against your bitter rivals, that's the kind of game you'll have.
A quick word on the Catalan. They didn't really turn up against St Helens in the first game, but that's now 2 wins with a lot of injuries.
Yeah, they have, and they're missing some of the big boys, aren't they? In the middle, obviously, Dylan Napper picked up one of the major signings, picked up a couple of matches, you know, in that opening game against St Helens. So, yeah, you know, Catalan will obviously be glad to get the win. I still don't think they're firing, you know, into the team that they proved they were last year. But you know, it's still so early on in the year. But you know, 2 wins under the belt, and coming up a big game against Warrington.
Friday night we saw Hull KR get the first win. Obviously your mate Danny Maguire there, and I think he's doing some good things, isn't he?
Yeah, Max is enjoying his time at Hull KR. They're a very passionate set of fans there.
And playing good rugby.
Yeah, they are. They'll always play good rugby. They'll always be really attractive. I think in the first game we saw they didn't have that defensive steel in and around it, and I think that's going to be the challenge for them this year, to match up that ability to throw the ball around and play ad hoc rugby. But when you make the mistakes, you've got to have that grit and resilience to defend it, and when they're playing well, they have that as a side to be able to do that.
I think they're really, you know, attacking side, they're really good to watch. You know, you look at Mikey Lewis, Jez Litton, Parcell.
I remember when he went on loan to York, you were surprised last year, weren't you? And he's really playing well now, isn't he?
Yeah, it's tremendous. You know, we worked with him with the England Knights, and a great kid, you know, and one who can go all the way. You know, he's a proper traditional scrum half.
Yeah.
But as you say, you know, that flair, like JP said, though, it's backing up, you know, when you make errors, or you know, you've got a game field position of having that steel in defence as well.
Wear a Cass hat, that's 3 defeats now.
Yeah, it's struggling at the moment. I think they're trying to find the feet, you know, post the Darryl Powell era. I think Lee Radford's the right man to take them forward, and I think they just need to pull together as a group. I think they've got some challenges there. I think the Castleford fans and supporters will give them some time to do that, but yeah, difficult time for them at the moment.
Also on Friday night was St Helens Wakefield. I touched on this. I was impressed with Wakefield, very spirited in the second half.
Yeah, very spirited performance. I think you like we said, you're always going to get that from a Wakefield side, and you know, this week for Leeds it'll be a tough game. They've lost 3 games, but you know, 3 close games. You know, they've only lost by 2 points in one, 4 points in another, and then obviously a bit of a wider margin at Leeds. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game.
We've mentioned him a lot already. Jack Welsby was superb. So was Lewis Dodd as well.
Yeah.
Are you sure they're only 20?
Yeah. Welsby's just a player, isn't he? You know, he just he plays what's in front of him, and great to see him now coming into that full-back role, certainly playing on the edges, you know, the likes of Johnny Lomax did previous to Lachlan Coote, where you've got a half-back's vision and to be able to find that pass. And you know, we see a couple of the assists in the last 2 games from Jack, as well as his running game, which he's renowned for. So he's making a real name of himself, isn't he?
And Conrad Hurrell seems to have really settled in.
Yeah, he just looks like he's enjoying himself, doesn't he? He's had a good pre-season. You know, he said probably the best pre-season he's had in a long time. Obviously, he works with Christian for Tonga, so they've got history and got a great relationship. And he just seems to be enjoying himself. You know, he's made himself a fan's favourite. You know, he's a character, but he's backing it up with his performance.
Saturday, Hull beat Salford. Salford went into that with a 100% record. Where are Hull at?
I think we've got to see Hull play some of the better teams, right, with 13 players to know where they're at. I think, you know, they played the Saints game, got a man sent off, got someone in the sin bin, and it unravelled for them there. I think the judgment's out on them at the moment, and I think when we see them play maybe Wigan or Warrington Saints, Catalans, I think we can make a judgment of where they're going to be in the season. I think, you know, it's shaping up already for a great Hull derby at Easter time. I can't wait to see that one already, but for me, at the moment, you'd say they're a position 5 to 8 in the league. That's where they're looking in terms of performance.
And finally on Saturday, Toulouse, Warrington. I suppose a bit better for Toulouse. Bit better.
A bit better,
It's going to be a long season, though, isn't it?
But it's going to be a long season.
Yeah.
I've written that down here, long season. I think you just don't see where a win's coming at the moment. You know, and you look at some of the Warrington tries. You know, there's some poor defence there from Toulouse, but you know they're going to improve. You know, they're obviously finding their feet. They've come up from Championship, but you know, struggling.
I think they're going to have to just stay positive as a group, and maybe I think ambush some teams when we get into the summer months and you get out there on a plane and you step off and it's 40 degrees. That's when I think they've got a chance of getting some victories. And
I think we'll probably have a better idea this week where Warrington at, won't we?
Yeah, it's a bigger test for them. You know, I think they've won 3 out of 3, but you'd hardly say that they've been outstanding, would you? You won't rank them at 8 and 9 out of 10 in their recent 3 performances.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Warrington versus Catalan this week. Well, I promised this a little earlier. He's had a great start to the season. Wigan are unbeaten as well. We went down to the training ground to speak to Jay Field.
Really strong start, obviously, for you and Wigan. You must be really happy on a personal level, but also on a team level, to be sat here 3 from 3 and playing some good rugby league.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's always nice to start the season well. For me personally, I'm just sort of pleased to be playing some footy really after a pretty traumatic like 2021. So yeah, I'm just pleased with that at the moment.
Is it almost a sense of relief for you that you've come in and hit the ground running and made such a strong start?
Yeah, I think so. You know. Stayed here this year and worked on my pre-season and got my body right, which obviously I needed to do after having a pretty injury-riddled season. So it's definitely nice to be hitting the ground running at the moment.
Opportunity this for the Wigan Warriors. Oh, and immediately the ball is spilled, and yet Jay Field picks it up. He'll carry on. The referee hasn't stopped play. Jay Field hasn't stopped playing either.
And obviously you came over here in 2021 into a country in lockdown. Had a bad injury sustained in round 1. Were there any points kind of in that recovery process in the last 12 months that you thought, you know, maybe this wasn't going to work out?
I'm a big believer in things happen for a reason, and obviously that happened. I sort of just got on with it. I tried my best to get back. I played 4 games and picked up a groin injury, sort of a bit of probably overlap from the hamstring injury not being quite right, but I don't think there was anything where I thought I'd made the wrong choice. I just wanted to just get myself right and get back on the paddock.
You've got something fairly unique, in fact completely unique, it's never happened before. Back-to-back games away in France now. You're away to the south of France for 10 days. You must be looking forward to that experience.
Yeah, it should be nice. You know, it's always good getting away, especially like in a group, in a football environment. You get to spend some time with each other, you know, play some cards, do different things, but we're also there to play footy, so hopefully we can get 2 wins. It should be nice.
And of course, Challenge Cup on the horizon. It must be something as a player, a box that you'd love to tick.
Yeah, it would be. You know, it's obviously exciting having the Challenge Cup here. You don't get that back home. I didn't get to play last year, so yeah, it's something to look forward to.
Well, best of luck for this year, mate. Enjoy it.
No worries, thank you.
Top lad, and obviously last season was awful for him with that awful hamstring injury.
Yeah, obviously he'd come over a big name signing and picked up that hamstring. It must be a horrendous injury as well for somebody who your main asset is your speed. But it's just great to see, from a neutral's point of view, they're the kind of players we want to see in Super League, and he's just lit the place up, hasn't he, in the opening 3 games, and just added that bit more strike. And what I loved, certainly in that game that we saw there, is like the early kick. He's playing what you see, play to your advantage of having somebody like Jai Field on your side.
He was outstanding against Leeds, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was the game breaker in that game. Leeds were challenging for it in it, and then he got that try and a couple of extra tries. Just using his pace. I just think that makes Wigan dangerous this year, because Wigan historically are good at defending the try lines, and if you defend your try line for 3 sets of 6, and you can get the ball to someone like him and can go the length of the field, that pace just gives an extra dimension to the Wigan attack, I think.
I think it's going to be interesting when Bevan French is back as well, because Jai Field's playing fullback at the moment. Where do you fit in both of them? But to have both of them on the field at the same time is a big asset.
And how tough must it have been for Jai Field psychologically to come over here in lockdown, not a normal world, and then get a serious injury?
Well, you saw the weather at the training field then, didn't you? So if you come from Australia, you're not allowed back to Australia. You're not allowed to do what you love doing. You can't get to a beach, and you're sat in your house at Wigan while it's raining. That's a pretty tough 12 months, is that? It's great to see a player come through the other side of that and not whinge. You never heard him whinge or moan about anything, not once in that. Did he say that? No. Just looking forward to what's going ahead. And for me, that's an attitude of a champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. As you say, he seemed to have stayed positive all the way through. It must have been a challenge for him. And as I say, as a neutral, not as a Saints man, you don't want to see somebody as strong for Wigan, but as a neutral, they're the kind of exciting players we want to see in our game.
Yeah, they certainly are, and we'll be featuring these players throughout the season here on the Sportsman, your online home of Rugby League.
Don't miss a thing from the new home of Rugby League online.
Follow the Sportsman on social media.
And follow their YouTube channel for exclusive content.
Yeah, your home of Rugby League. Look, I'm not very good technically. I can turn a computer on. I think I'm about as good as you, aren't I, on computers? We didn't have computers when I went to school. But subscribe to the channel, please. Do what you have to do to subscribe to the channel, because we've got loads of live Rugby League coming up. This weekend, by the way, on the Sportsman, we're showing the varsity game. Oxford versus Cambridge. That is live this weekend on the Sportsman. And then the following weekend, we're showing the 5th round of the Betfred Challenge Cup. We're going to show the game Batley Bulldogs, they beat the Royal Navy, versus Featherstone. So Batley Bulldogs versus Featherstone. And of course, you know the Featherstone coach quite well, don't you?
Yeah, Mac's doing a good job down there at Featherstone. I think they're really happy with what he's brought to the team. For me, Mac's a Super League coach. He's one of the best coaches in the business, and I think he will get Featherstone into the Super League. I'm really interested to see how Featherstone perform. Let's say they get past Batley, if they get drawn against a Super League club. I think they've got capabilities. Featherstone, if they get the home advantage, of knocking off a Super League side if they're not careful.
That is the massive carrot this 5th round for all these teams. You win this, you might get a Wigan, you might get a St Helens. Yeah. Although I wouldn't want St Helens at the moment.
no, but as you say, it's a massive carrot, isn't it, for them teams, and for the likes of Featherstone, it's a good barometer of where they're at. In regards to can they live in Super League in future years? So that'd be an exciting round if they can get past Batley Bulldogs, who you say had a great win over the Royal Navy. All credit to the Royal Navy as well for the run they've had.
So a week on Sunday on this channel, Batley Bulldogs versus Featherstone in the 5th round of the Betfred Challenge Cup. Right, we'll talk about this weekend's Super League fixtures in a moment. But Scully is here, of course, a proud ambassador of St Helens, and they are doing a wonderful thing off the pitch. Let's hear from Conrad Horrell.
I'll go back to the 15th of January. It's always tough talking about this, obviously, when I had my family and friends back home in Tonga. There was a big freaking volcano tsunami in my little island of Tonga that pretty much corrupted everything. Obviously the ash, the waves, when it happens, it's quite scary just not hearing from them. And after a couple of days later, nearly a week, finally hearing from family in Tonga, and it is good news that everything was okay. But at the same time, the ash has pretty much ruined the volcano. The tsunami pretty much ruined everything. The crop that we live off, just electricity, water, the ash around the whole island, just pretty much the homes, a lot of homes, and that affected the people there. There's a lot of things that happen in Tonga that ruin, that we pretty much have to restart our life again in Tonga. A lot of business has gone. Obviously, it's a little island. When the tsunami went through it, everyone's trying to get back on their feet now. On behalf of myself and Will, Ignatius and Wolfie, obviously we're Tongans, and Wolfie's been a part of the Tongan rugby league community. We're all asking for your help on behalf of us and these great club scenes. They're doing stuff to help out for Tonga. We're asking for your help if you can have any donations, clothing, equipment, rugby balls, boots, any sports equipment you can get a hold of. Whatever you feel like you can donate, it'll be much appreciated from all of us, obviously, to help my little island Tonga. I know everyone go through their own situation, but I think I'll say on behalf of us and Tongans, we hate asking, but I think this is a time that we all need your help right now. Please, we will all appreciate this, and whatever it is, small, big, no matter what it is, it will help someone in Tonga. So thank you again for this great club scenes and this rugby league for doing this. Obviously Tonga will appreciate every little thing everyone's been helping. So for people that have already donated and supporting Tonga, much love and respect to you all. So thank you again. Ofalahiatu.
There we are. So St Helens supporting Tonga. Obviously, there's a hell of a lot going on in the world at the moment. Hell of a lot of awful things going on in the world. But your old club are very, very good at things like this.
Yeah.
Well, let's expand that. Rugby League are very good at this.
Yeah, we always say that, don't we? You know, the best at looking after our own, and obviously very, very tough for Conrad there to speak about. And as you say, you know, great links with Tonga now at Saints through the players, and obviously Christian. And a great initiative to help all the people in Tonga. Just a great race of people, you know. And I'll never forget the game over in 2017, the World Cup game, and where Tonga just completely took over Auckland. Yeah, just a great people, and hopefully everybody can join together and help them.
Yeah, well done, Saints. Good stuff off the pitch as well. Let's hope they raise plenty of money and plenty of kit as well. So well done, St Helens, for that initiative. Let's turn our attention to on the field again. Your live Sky game on Thursday night is pretty big, especially if you're a Leeds Rhino fan. Wakefield versus Leeds. Look, it's too early to say it's a must-win, but we're getting quite near to that stage for Leeds, aren't we?
Yeah, it's almost a must-win. It's a game that they need to register some points on the league table. I think, you know, there's been excuses, there's been reasons for the last 3 games, but now I think the team know this is the game that they need to win, and it's going to be a challenge for them. You know, with the weather as it is, it's going to be a great, difficult game. It won't be one. If they win, that they'll win easily. I think it'll go down to the wire against the Wakefield team, who know how to scrap for each other, know how to fight for each other. So for me, I think it makes a great game to watch, even if you're a neutral, because it's going to be a bit nervy. Basically, anybody who doesn't support Leeds likes to see Leeds lose as well, don't they? So yeah, I think it's going to be...
Do you think it could be a bit like last season? Last season was that poor start, wasn't it? And then Leeds got a win on the board, and they did kick on a bit. Is that what Leeds need now, that win to then kick on?
Yeah, I think they've got too much quality within the side in terms of, you know, overseas players, England players and younger players come through not to have an impact on this season, but they need to start winning if they're going to go deep into the table and finish in the kind of top 3 where you can have the biggest chance of winning the grand final.
Yeah, and let's not disrespect Wakefield in any way whatsoever, Scully. We mentioned it earlier on, really spirited in the second half. They play the whole 80 minutes, don't they, Wakefield, whatever the score is?
Yeah, they do. They're a dogged side, aren't they? And they proved that last week against Saints. And as JP said, it's a massive derby game, this, for Wakefield. You know, Wakefield fans will know when they're playing Leeds, you know, at the beginning of the year. It's a game they'll look out for, and it's a game that the players will get themselves up for. And for Wakey, I don't think there's any better time to play Leeds at the moment. They're obviously, you know, not high in confidence. And for me, you know, it is a must-win game for Leeds. If you're going to challenge at the back end of the year and you've got to beat the likes of Wigan and Saints, you've got to win these games.
Sky Friday night, Scully. Warrington versus Catalan. Warrington unbeaten so far. We mentioned it earlier. Is this the first proper test for them?
It is. I think it is the first proper test for Warrington. And yeah, you know, they're 3 from 3. I still don't think they're firing on all cylinders yet. And this is a big challenge for them. As you said, Catalan missing a couple of big boys in the middle. I think it's a scratch game, this, for me.
Hull KR versus Saints.
Yeah,
I know it's pointless asking you.
It's a tough place to go, Hull KR. It's a very tough place. They're coming off the back of a good win against Castleford. They're kind of a team that they probably feel no pressure. They just go out and play. And but they've got to, you know, what we said before about if they make errors, you know, they lose field position. You've got to be able to turn that around because Saints will punish you. Saints not the best performance against Wakefield, but you know, you're never going to be at
winning games, though.
But you're winning games and won convincingly.
No, I can't see where Saints are getting beat at the moment. Could it be Hull KR?
Yeah, I think the key for Saints is not to underestimate Hull KR. Go there and think we've got this one in the bank.
I don't think they're doing the Christian Wolf, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it's been great, Christian Wolf. You know, I love watching the Saints team, the intensity that they play at. They can raise the game to a level that other teams just can't cope with, or they can cope with it for 5 or 10 minutes and then they break. And I think that's the key for Hull KR. Can they live with those moments where Saints crank up that intensity, crank up that line speed, and if they can and throw the ball around, they've got a chance of winning.
That's the thing. What I was just going to say. Then I think it's the attitude-based stuff that Saints are the difference this year. It's the line speed, it's the aggression, it's the way they run the ball. You know, the energy that they run.
Yeah. They're great to watch, Saints, but they're great defensively as well, aren't they?
That's to say, it's the line speed, the enthusiasm, the aggression. You know, they get some wins and get some field position to be able to take the ball back with energy and.
Yeah. They're just good. They're just consistent in everything they do. The most consistent side in everything they do. You know, consistent with line speed, consistent with energy, consistent with effort, and that's why they win games.
It's attitude and effort-based stuff that Saints are the best at.
Well, let's ask you a question because it's pointless asking him. Can anyone stop Saints winning?
Yeah, of course. There's definitely
the grand final.
Yeah, definitely a side.
Without getting carried away.
Yeah, there's definitely a side can beat them.
They look a class above to me.
Yeah, at the moment they do look a class above, but as we know, right, every year the season is such a long season. There's many twists and turns along the way. You get 3 or 4 key players out for St Helens for the year. They've been fortunate. They've been able to keep the same squad together. They've not had too many injuries. You get 3 or 4 out from that. You might get a change of coach mid-year. You just don't know what's going to happen in the league, in Super League. So look, they're the favourites by some stretch at the moment in the first 3 games. But how many more games we've got? We've got another 8 or 9 months to go, haven't we? So.
Yeah, let's just talk about the other 3 games very, very quickly. Toulouse versus Wigan.
Yeah, again, I think Toulouse will try hard, but we're going to be too strong for them in the end.
I think this is a really interesting one. Huddersfield versus
yeah,
Salford.
I'm right on the fence on this one. Obviously, Salford started the year with 2 good wins. Big loss against Hull FC last week, but Huddersfield, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a close game. This, Theo Farge is back for Huddersfield. That's a massive bonus for them. Obviously, back from suspension.
And Ian Watson versus Old Club as well.
Yeah, there's so many at Lola here. Obviously, key figure for Huddersfield now, and obviously playing against his old club, so he'll want to step up and have a good game. And I think Huddersfield just.
And finally, Cass versus Hull.
At Castleford.
Yep.
I'm going to stick my neck on line and go Castleford, get the first kind of win here. I think they've got a few ex-Hull players in there. It'll mean a lot to Lee Radford. They're under the pump. So I'm going to go with my old teammate Lee Radford and think Cass to get the first win of the year.
Okay, right, gents, there's been a lot of talk about disciplinary issues so far this year. Well, the RFL have decided to lift the lid on that process. There's a new show tonight. It's on their YouTube at 7 o'clock tonight. It's called The Sin Bin. Watch this.
Let's look at perhaps the most famous incident of the first couple of weeks of the season, or infamous if you prefer, when Luke Gale was sent off for an almost indescribable challenge in the match between Hull FC and St Helens. What about this one, Paul? Perhaps the most famous incident, as I say, or infamous moment of the season so far. What about it?
Well, absolutely. You know, it's something we hadn't seen from Luke Gale, or
from anybody,
from anybody. If you lead with your feet, that's a highly reckless or intentional act. And there's a difference in opinion there. But if you lead with your feet and your studs are up, and you put that foot towards the kicking leg of a player who has a right to kick the ball, he ought to, Johnny Lomax has a right to kick that ball without anything going into his shin, unless it's a reasonable tackle. That would be a shoulder, an arm, an upper body where you're trying to charge the ball down or tackle the man before he kicks the ball. To lead with your studs is an intentional act.
So that's available at 7 o'clock to watch on the RFL's YouTube channel. They're going to do it every month, explain these decisions, because obviously there's been a lot of talk about, well, the rule changes. Now, look, what do you think, Scully? I think basically they are trying to protect the players, which is right.
Yeah, obviously it's about player welfare. You know, these are why the rules are brought in. There's a fine line, isn't there, in player welfare and not losing, you know, what the game's about. It's a combat sport. It's a physical sport. Players are going to get injured, unfortunately. You know, be it through, you know, ill discipline or accident. So yeah, I agree with everything that we can to, you know, to make it safe for players. But I'm sick of hearing about disciplinaries. I want to hear about players and tries, and rather than rules and disciplinaries and bans.
Yeah, because look, social media, whether you think of it good or bad, it's just full of it, isn't it? And everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah, everyone's got an opinion, and some of them, you know, it can be seen as, you know, some of the decisions that they've made and some of the bans that are, you know, crazy for me. Some of them. But I'd rather speak about players and good things in the game.
Look, the RFL, at least they've taken this on the front foot and want to explain the decisions.
Yeah, look, it's good that they've done it, but it's reactive, right? If we'd have said 2 weeks before the start of the year, they'd have come out and said, look, we're going to be really, really tough on foul play and there's going to be some longer bans than expected. You just set expectation, but that wasn't done.
But they did go and speak to the clubs.
Yeah, I mean, to the stakeholders who are watching the sport.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, and that's where the frustration is not coming from the players. I think it's coming from people who didn't know why this is happening. And I think they've gone way too far with it. You know, you've got the Luke Gale one there who gets 5 matches for doing something that's really, really rare. I've never ever seen a player do that before. So no one's going to start doing that. If he gets a 2-match or a 1-match ban, I'm going to start charging people down. We've got rid of one of our best players in the comp for a reason I don't really understand it. And I think I'm with protecting the players, me. But I think there's more to do with protecting the players around the levels of intensity in training, right? And what gets done in training in terms of how hard people at each are in training and how often they do that kind of contact. And I think we pick out the Hollywood moments within a game and give people big bans. But I believe some of the sustained long-term damage around your cognitive ability comes from the repeated impacts in training. That's been proven in American football. They're limited with how much contact they can have there. And that's a way that you can guard the players' welfare by still having a great product, the one that we know that is combative, the one where there's great physicality on shore. And that's, for me, my view and my take on it, whether that be right or wrong.
Okay. Right, well, this is a big topic to
huge.
address in 2 minutes. So, you know, it'd be unfair to try and address this in 2 minutes. I mean, player welfare has got to be the absolute key, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. And like JP says, you know, for me, it's in training. You know, a lot of the impacts, a lot of the injuries, you know as a player, the easy bit, the easy bit is the 80 minutes. It's the week before.
Are you sure?
You know,
I've never played a game, but I did at school.
Yeah, I mean, as a player, I'll speak for myself, is that I knew going on the field there's a risk I could get knocked out, and I'm cool with that risk because I like playing the game, right? Or I can suffer an egg knock. I want it limiting, right, with that, but I know that's going to be part of the product that I play. But for me, you know, the stuff that happens off the field in training, that's the stuff where you're limited, because I don't believe that is necessary, but some of that accidental stuff is necessary, I believe, with the sport that we've got.
It's like the hitting of players as they pass a ball. You know, it's difficult when the game is so quick and so intense to know whether that player is committed to that act. And then to be receiving yellow cards, you know, yeah, if it's deserved, but I think there is a real fine balance.
It's probably, I mean, the cards are probably having too big a say on the game at the moment, and maybe it could be that the cards are less and you ban people afterwards rather than doing both.
Well, let's carry on this debate some other time, because it is crucial to the game. But let's carry on with the positives, because it has been a really positive start of the season. And it's time for our weekly feature now, Try of the Week.
Try number 1, and we're at Lee for the 4th round of the Challenge Cup. Matty Smith here with the high kick lands perfectly in the arms of Lee fullback Caleb Aikins, who rubs salt into the wounds of the Vikings by running the length of the field with only Matty Fossard within reach of stopping him, but the superstar signing goes over for his Challenge Cup hat-trick. Try number 2, and it's another fullback in contention. Newcastle away at York in the Cup now. Thunder in attack here, but look at this. It comes off a York defender and the ref signals it's back to 1. Mullen is perfectly positioned to carry this through, and it's sloppy defence from York. He finds a gap and just gets it over for his 2nd of the day. More Challenge Cup action and more hat-trick heroes now. Bradford away at London. Gill out to Miller, back into Gill. Broncos winger Ulberg going for the ankle tack, but Gill can't be stopped. He crosses over and settles it down nicely behind the sticks. Back to York now for try number 4. The scores are level and it's York in attack. Liam Harris to Marsh, to Jamie Ellis, to Glover, who breaks through the defence, offloads back to Marsh, who scrambles over for his first of 2 in the 4th round of the Cup. Try number 5, and League 1 side Doncaster host Championship side Whitehaven in attack now. There's a breakthrough here from Phillips and he's got support on both sides, but it's out to Wilkinson, who skirts around the defence and passes to Williams, who touches down with ease. And finally, try number 6, undefeated Barrow away at Rochdale. Ritson palms off the defence, and it's a length of the field effort for the winger to send Rochdale crashing out of the cup and brings him in contention for another try of the week.
Yeah, get voting on the Our League app. Right, we're running out of time. Don't forget, we're showing the varsity match this weekend on the Sportsman. Then next weekend, a week on Sunday, we are showing in the Betfred Challenge Cup, we are showing the Batley Bulldogs versus Featherstone Rovers. And then after that round, the big boys are in the Super League clubs. Join the Betfred Challenge Cup. Right, gents, I really enjoyed your company. JP, good to see you for the first time this season. Let's finish on a positive. All right, you're worried about Leeds after only 3 games, but generally, we're in a World Cup year. Channel 4 have been on board. They even let him go on Channel 4. And he was quite good, actually.
He was great on that.
We've got terrestrial TV, we've got the World Cup, we've got Sky continuing doing a great job. I think the world's quite good in Rugby League, and news today that Super League, RFL are getting back together.
I'm with you. I think on all fronts there are lots of positive signs for the games. We're just talking about little niggles. That's all we've got, some little niggles that we need to get sorted out within the game. But I just love the fact that strategically we're back together. We've got a World Cup. I've really enjoyed watching the games this year. I think there's been some really intense games and some competitive games and some great skill shown out there for the start of the season. So I think it's only going to get better. I'm going to peak, with the Grand Final, Challenge Cup Final, World Cup Final.
Yeah, and I tell you what I love about the World Cup, Scully, is that we've also got the women's game going to be part of the World Cup. We've got a wheelchair game part of the World Cup. It is the most inclusive sport going.
It is the most inclusive, isn't it? It's something that we do shout about, and rightly so. And I think what an end to a fantastic year it'll be. Men's, women in wheelchair, some great competition, some great teams coming over. hopefully three England World Cups.
Let's hope so. Gents, thanks for coming in. It is the most inclusive sport. We're even showing students this weekend on the Sportsman. We're showing their varsity game, Oxford University versus Cambridge. See you next Wednesday, but don't forget to watch that live varsity game this weekend on the Sportsman.